Hello. Welcome to Mindset Monday here at Create What You Want with Shauna St. James. I am always so glad to see you. So welcome back. This is the place where you want to be to get the mindsets you need to create whatever you want in your life, to create the kind of business you want, to create the kind of life you want, and to really just achieve any goal you set. That is what we are about here in Create What You Want with Shauna St. James. And today we're going to be talking about we're starting a new series. We finished the Creative Mindset series, and we are going on to the different kinds of struggle buses, or the different kinds of rocks we carry in our backpacks. I usually talk about the fact that our mind is like a backpack, and a lot of times we end up carrying around a lot of junk in our backpacks that's not going to help us make our way to the summit, which is our goal. So today, the number one backpack rock we're going to talk about is fear. We're going to talk about how fear is something that holds us back, and 3 tools at the end. I want to give you 3 tools you can use to dump that fear rock, to get that fear rock out of our bag, right? And then I have a little fun giveaway for someone today. Someone's going to win a little fun giveaway before we say goodbye, just as a little surprise and a thank you. So, all right, I'm going to unpack how holding on to fear in our backpacks keeps us stuck and really keeps us from making the changes that we need to make in our lives. Because when we're working towards a goal or achieving something new, starting a new business, whatever that is, we have to make changes. And when working on changes, it's uncomfortable and things start getting in our way, and fear is one of them. Fear is like a big rock in our backpack that holds us back. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me here on Mindset Monday. And please say hello as you're signing in. I love to see who's here. And I appreciate you sharing your time with me. Your time is valuable, and in return, I want to share the top valuable game changers every week that I have for you that you can use to create what you want in your life. That is what we do here. So I want to ask for anyone that's here, even if you're watching this in replay. Hi, Brenda. Good to see you. Welcome. Even if you're watching this in replay, I want you to tell me, what is one thing you did this weekend? What is one self-care activity, got my mouth full today, that you did this weekend? What's one thing that brought you joy that you did as a self-care activity? I'll share mine. I kind of had a lot of them this weekend. It was kind of a full weekend, but my daughter came in town, so I got to see my daughter and my son-in-law. That's always fun because they don't live in town here. And I got to go to a wedding and reconnect with a lot of old friends and make some new friends. I mean, weddings are fun. That was so fun. And then I did some real stuff. I cleaned out a closet. Maybe not super exciting, but that is a form of self-care for me when I get things organized. And then I got a guest room ready because I recently moved, so I still have things kind of in flux over here. But let me know, share what you did this weekend for one self-care activity. All right, I'm Shauna St. James, and I am a creative and an author, and I'm also a creative coach. So really over a decade of experience. I've got a lot of experience with helping people, and especially thousands of creatives, really help them transform their mindsets so that they can create what they want in their lives and achieve what goals they set. And it's really more than about just creating gorgeous art. When I was first starting being a creative coach, it was really about helping people tap into their creativity for them to be able to use it to create more art. But as I've gone through and learned and I'm kind of a learning junkie, I realized that really it's our creative power that is our source. That is our complete resource that we have already inside of ourselves to create whatever we want in our lives. And then there are a lot of things that get in the way of us using that creative power. And all of that creative power, of course, is in our mind, right? Our minds are like backpacks, and we carry a bunch of other things in our backpacks that get in the way from us using that creative power. So that's what we're talking about. Oh, the Badger game. Oh, that's so fun. Madison, Wisconsin Badger games. Can't beat those. Hey, Ira, good to see you. Good to see you. The question was, for if you came in late, Ira, for anyone else that's getting here late, what is one thing you did for yourself this weekend that you could consider a self-care activity? I consider a self-care activity anything that really brings you joy or anything that really made you feel good. So whatever that is for you, I would love to hear what that is, what you did. All right, everything we can ever want begins with our minds, begins right here. It begins with our mindset, begins with what's in our backpack. Our minds are like backpacks. And it's what it's in your backpack that really decides whether you're going to get to the summit or not. And the summit is always your goal. Whatever that is you want, whatever that is you want to create in your life, that is the summit. So it really matters that we have the right tools and the right supplies inside our backpacks for us to make it there, because we're going to encounter a lot of challenges along the way. You know what oh, you went out to eat. Yay. I love going out to eat too. Good deal. Thanks for sharing that, you guys, Brenda and Ira. And like I said, anyone in replay, I want to hear from you too. So that whatever is in your backpack, we'll get back to that, is going to determine whether you succeed or don't succeed. So here it is. Here inside Shauna St. James, Create What You Want with Shauna St. James, we want to talk about, do you have the right supplies? What are the right supplies? And maybe what are the ones that are getting in your way? What are the tools that you can use to get rid of the rocks, to clean out your backpack so you can get where you want to go? Oh, someone went shopping with their teenager. Yay. Actually, I do love shopping with teenagers because they always, have interests that I'm old, right? So I don't really know what the hot new stuff is. Not that they always get the hot new stuff, but it's always fun to see what's out there. All right. Whatever you have, whatever you think about, whatever you believe, whatever you do, and even the things you say in your habits, those are the paradigms that we have. And paradigms are the things that we carry in our backpacks. It's these patterns and these routines that we've developed with all those things that we talk about, our beliefs and our thoughts and what we do and how, the things we say. Those paradigms become the tools and supplies in your backpack. If you don't have the right ones, if you don't have positive ones, then they're rocks. They're not good paradigms. We want the positive, powerful paradigms that help us get where we want to go. We all have big rocks in our backpacks. We all do. And those rocks never serve us. They just hold us back and keep us from getting to the summit. And when our backpacks are filled with junk, we don't have room for all the good stuff. So it's kind of like your body, same thing with your body. If you fill your body with junk food, you don't really have the energy you need for when you really need it to work for you. So I want to talk about how fear, we all have different kinds of rocks, and fear is a big rock, and fear shows up in multiple forms. The first thing I want you to think about, the fact is, how many of you think that you are carrying some fear rocks in your backpack right now? Me. I want to see you say, I want you to type me if you think that somewhere along the line of you working towards whatever goal you have set for yourself, you think you might be bumping up against fear. You might be carrying a fear rock in your backpack. Because really, we all have them. So I don't think there's anyone out there who should say, no, I don't have any fear. And sometimes it takes us a while to recognize that. So we're going to go through some scenarios that may help you recognize that. But the first thing I want you to know is I want you to let go. I want you to let go about any guilt and shame you may have over feeling fear. Fear is really, it's a human condition. It is how we're wired. We are scientifically wired to protect ourselves. Fear is this part of us that we can't escape it. I don't want you to feel bad or feel guilty or constantly reprimand yourself for being fearful, because you're not alone. We all have it. We're wired that way. That's part of how we're made as humans. And when we're working toward a goal that we've never accomplished before, that can feel really scary. So fear is naturally going to pop up. When we're changing things and it feels uncomfortable, and we talk about how it's messy in the middle, oh, all that stuff causes fear. So here are the top 4 fear thoughts or rocks that seem to keep us stuck. I'm just going to cover the top 4. There are more, and you guys, if you have any other scenarios, please feel free to type them in, because that's kind of what we're doing here. This is kind of a game, right, of what keeps us back, because we're going to bust through these. We're going to talk about 3 tools you can use to bust through these at the end. The top 4 fear thoughts or rocks. 1, inadequacy, feeling inadequate. Oh, or some people call this the imposter syndrome. For some reason, the imposter syndrome word doesn't work for me, but for me, it's the not enough syndrome. The not enough syndrome. I'm not good enough. My art isn't good enough. If you're an artist, you oh my gosh, how many times have we said that to ourselves? You don't know enough. You don't have the right degree. You're not educated enough. You're not qualified enough. You're not professional enough. The not enoughs, that inadequacy, the not enough syndrome. That's a huge fear that can hold us back. I've been in survival mode for so long, it's hard to let my guard down. Yeah. Being really protective. We're going to talk about that too. Thanks for sharing that, Ira. Number two rock is uncertainty. When we are facing uncertainty, it's huge. It feels so risky. There's no guarantee. We don't have a guarantee of what those results are going to be, right? Maybe we don't know all the steps. That's a big uncertainty. You know what you want, but you have no idea what it's going to take to get there. That feels scary. That feels risky. Or maybe we're unsure about whether we can achieve the results. The uncertainty. We just don't necessarily believe in ourselves. We don't trust ourselves. And that risk is so overwhelming. That risk and that fear is so overwhelming, it paralyzes. Or maybe it's that uncertainty that makes you feel so out of control. I don't like doing things when I feel like things are so out of control. That's a big fear. Another fear rock, a big fear rock, is fear of failure. Oh, where you just don't want to put yourself out there, because what if the thought of not succeeding is sometimes worse than taking the risk to achieve it? Or maybe you're fearful of, if you fail, that judgment that comes from others. Or maybe you're afraid of getting hurt. If we fail, we really feel like failures to ourselves. So not necessarily being hurt from other people, although judgment can definitely make us feel that way. But that fear of failure that's gonna hurt. We don't really want to feel hurt. Nobody wants to feel that. And then the fear of failure, sometimes like when we catastrophize things, oh my gosh, we think of the worst possible scenario outcome. And just that thought keeps us from moving forward. That kind of fear is paralyzing. The fear of rejection, that's a huge rock too, where we think, well, what if they don't like what it is I'm creating? What if they don't like what I have to offer? What if they don't like me? Oh my gosh, the fear of rejection can really keep people stuck, keep people paralyzed. Or what if others think I'm ridiculous or think I'm selfish? Like all those things of rejection, those concepts of what other people are going to think, that fear of rejection. And then the 5th rock that I'm going to cover today, this is kind of our last fear thought rock, that FOMO, right? We hear about FOMO all the time. FOMO, where we're focused on what everybody else is doing. We're so focused on what everybody else is doing and where everyone else is succeeding. And I call it the comparison caboose. We're focusing on the wrong thing because we're focusing on what we don't have. We're focusing on what someone else who's way ahead of us, we don't know their whole story. We're so focused on what they have and what we see that we completely lose sight and lose our power in what we can do to move ourselves forward. But we're so afraid of missing out because somebody else has already been there. Somebody else already has it. That FOMO really gets us. Okay, so here are the top 7 fear symptoms. The symptoms. So these are more our behaviors or actions. Those are more the things, the thoughts that we have, but here's how they show up in our actions. Procrastinating. Oh, I confess, who else is a procrastinator? Do any of these, have any of these hit home with you? Me. I want to see me if any of these have hit home from you. If you are a procrastinator, you just can't, you keep finding reasons why you can't do something. Keep finding reasons why you can't. You say things like, if only, if I could just, those kinds of things keep us procrastinating. We just keep putting off the things that we can do. That is a good sign that you're dealing with a big fear rock. Or maybe you're dealing with things that numb you. Numbing behaviors, I call them. And these things can be very scary. They can be when you just want to check out and you don't want to feel that. You really don't want to feel the fact that you are letting yourself down or you're not going for your goal. You do things that numb. You can numb with food. You can numb with alcohol. You can numb with TV and tech, right? There's nothing wrong with taking a break and doing some Netflix binging every once in a while. But if you find that that is getting in the way of you actually moving forward on something you want, you may be using that. It may be a fear block. It may be a fear block. That can be that way. Then the other one that shows up a lot, this is really common, is if you just stay busy all the time. You're constantly staying busy with all this stuff. So you just don't have time. You can't find time for that. That can be a numbing behavior. It keeps you from really feeling that, getting in touch with that feeling of a desire and a longing and what your heart is really calling you to do. A numbing behavior. Micromanaging, number 3. Micromanaging, where you focus on all the minutia and the stuff that really isn't a game changer or doesn't matter, but that becomes so big, it keeps you from really working on the big picture. Micromanaging, huge fear rock. It's your way of feeling, it helps you feel in control. When you start micromanaging all these other things, it helps you feel safe and it feels less risky. A lot of times we call those people control freaks, right? If you have someone, you're like, oh, she's such a control freak. Sometimes all that micromanaging is really coming from fear. All right, if you avoid making decisions, number 4, the number 4 behavior, fear rock. If you're just constantly ignoring the choices that you do have, the options you do have, and you just avoid making decisions, that can be another sign that fear is holding you back. Or you use obligations and responsibilities as excuses. This was me. This was me. Everyone else's needs or wants, they weren't even always needs, came before what I wanted to do. And I used it as a cop-out. I used this as an excuse for me not to be going for what I wanted, for me not to do something that fulfilled me, because actually I was afraid to do it. So the behavior that showed up for me was I just let everybody else's stuff take priority. And I didn't want to disrupt or inconvenience anyone. And I always had, the kids' activities and the laundry and the household chores. And there were always reasons, responsibilities, and obligations that kept me from really trying to do what I wanted to do, for going for my dream. That was how fear showed up for me. And then that leads, this kind of is a path down the road to when you start doing that, then resentment and anger start showing up. Do you ever feel really angry about all that stuff that you do for everyone else and you never get to do anything for yourself? You kind of start going into that victim mode, or you resent a relationship that you have, because everything that they're demanding and it's not letting you don't have any time to do what you want, or they don't have any respect for what you want. Those kinds of victim mentalities, and I lovingly say this, people, I am not pointing any fingers, because the pink finger is me, right? What did they say? When you point at someone, at three point back at you. I was there. That's the reason why I can talk about this so authentically, because I was there. When I let that take priority, I started feeling resentful and a lot of anger. When we don't express what we need or what we want, that's what happens. And then that can grow bigger and turn into an illness, anxiety, depression, even physical illness, right? Or you start isolating and you start pulling yourself back. You withdraw from things. There are so many ways that fear can play out in our lives. And I want you to be really thinking about these, because sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing it. It's just so easy for fear to take over, because it's how we're naturally wired. And because we're naturally wired like that, we don't always pick up on it. We don't always catch it. So that leads us to, if any of those are you, please don't be hard on yourself. Once again, this isn't about guilt or shame. This is just about moving forward. We're moving forward. We are being solution oriented, solution focused. 3 tools you can use to dump these fear rocks. Who wants to dump the fear rocks? Yes, please say me if you want to dump the fear rocks. All right. First thing you need to do, awareness. I want you to have some awareness around it, because that is the first step. The first step to getting past any fear is being aware that it's there. Oh my gosh. So I want you to ask yourself, what is really holding me back? What is really holding me back from going for what I want? Which scenario of these, do any of these hit home with you? Are you seeing any of these show up in your lives? Which scenario is kind of your backup, your go-to? We tend to have the same ones that we use over and over again. It's just how there's a lot of reasons why that happens, but that doesn't matter so much as just being aware of what that is, not necessarily where it came from. If you're inside the Creative Jumpstart program, we dig a little deeper into where those came from and how we can disrupt those and throw those out, and how we can really reset those. But right now, I just want you to think, okay, what fear rocks am I carrying? How are they showing up? And then number 2, I want you to acknowledge it. Acknowledge it. Accept it. Yep, I'm dealing with fear. No judgment there. No judgment there. Why? Because it's how we're wired. It's how we're innately human, wired to protect ourselves and to not experience hurt, right? Our minds want to do everything to avoid pain. So that's how we're wired. I want you to give yourself grace. And I want you to prepare, when you're acknowledging this, I want you to go through your mind and prepare for the worst result. What is the worst thing that could happen if you tried this, if you went for this dream? Now I'm going to put a little personal story in here, and I kind of debated on this, but I'll go ahead and share it. Sometimes those questions right there, what is the worst thing that could happen? Sometimes they are huge. Sometimes it could be, well, if I decide to do this, if I decide to really do what my heart is calling me to do, I'm going to break up an entire system. My entire life is going to implode. What is the worst case scenario? What would I do if that happened? If I made this decision and that happened, what would I do? And I had to go through some pretty scary options. Well, I might have to go move across the country and live with a sibling for a while in their garage or basement. I'm kind of being humorous about it, but what I'm really wanting to point out is sometimes our rocks are really big. Sometimes our rocks are really big, and that's okay. I want you to go there anyway, because sometimes that is what we need to do. We need to take the risk. If you're feeling resentment, if you're feeling anger and you can't process through those any other way, if you're being depressed, if you're being suppressed, if you're feeling anxiety, if it's starting to interfere with how you function every day, it may be time to get rid of one of these big fear rocks. Maybe it's just simply, oh my gosh, I need to pay for this training. This is terrifying me. What if I can't afford this training? What if I don't make my money back? What if, go there, do the what ifs, and be willing to have a plan when that happens. If that for some reason happens, if it happened, what would your plan be? Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that. Then the third part, I want you to be aware. I want you to acknowledge, and I want you to take action. Take action. You knew I wasn't just going to leave it all up here in your head, right? You've got to move on it. You've got to make an action. That's not how a action. I want you to start small. I want you to start small. Maybe it's just voicing your opinion. Maybe it's just sitting down with someone and telling them, I really need this. This is what I need. How can we make this happen? Maybe it's you've already shared it. Maybe it's just coming up with that boundary and saying, okay, kids, on Wednesday nights, you make your own dinner. It's peanut butter and jelly night. Everybody's having peanut butter and jelly for dinner, and you're making it because I'm over here at a training at 6 p.m. I'm just making that up, but you get the idea. You get the idea. All right, so here's how I want you to approach this. I want you to approach this as we have backpack rocks that we carry. And I want you to think of this whole series that we're doing it as, this is our self-sabotage playlist. All these things, all these rocks that we're going to be covering, or struggle buses, how I termed it before, in this next series, we're going to be using them to build our self-sabotage playlist, our top 10 hits of self-sabotaging hits, right? We all do them. We all do them. It's time to acknowledge them. It's time to be aware of them. So that's what I'm going to leave you with today. All right. So before we go, I have a gift. I have a little gift. I see there's only a couple of people here, so usually I like to have more people here to put this in, but here's what I want you to do. The first person who types, first person who answers this question is who I will give away this fun little gift, and here's what you're going to get. This is oh my goodness, the light's terrible. Give yourself permission. Give yourself permission. It's a sticker to get rid of your self-sabotaging hits, your fear rocks, any of those blocks. How many of you are going to sit down and do this and make your self-sabotage top 10 hits playlist? Me. I want to see a me. First me in the chat. I'll mail you a sticker. We'll get your address afterwards, offline. You can we'll just message each other, and then I'll pop this in the mail to you. I just want you to know how much I appreciate you guys being here. And you have everything you need. Brenda, I see Brenda. Thank you, Brenda. You have everything you need to achieve anything you want to achieve. And this is going to help you get there, getting rid of these rocks that we carry in our backpacks, trying to get to the summit. Fear rock is number one. There's so many different rocks we carry along the way when we're making big changes, but we can do this. So next week we are going to be talking about, oh shoot, I didn't write down the next one. Anyway, next week we're going to be covering another big rock that we carry in our backpack. But until then, I want you to be able to use these 3 tools. Thank you for being here. Brenda, I'll get with you after, and I'll be mailing you this. And thanks, guys. I'll see you next week. Take care.